Raise your hand if you were ever told to believe in yourself as a child. A lot of us, right? So let's go a little bit deeper. Were you actually taught what self-belief is and how to actually incorporate it into your life? Now, Cambridge Dictionary defines self-belief as trust in your own ability. And I know that can be so challenging to imagine that you don't trust in your own ability. But the reality is, there would be evidence if you actually trusted in yourself. I want you to have an open, honest conversation with yourself on if you truly believe. So my goal here today is simple. For you to believe in yourself at such a high ability, and you can truly live the life that you deserve. You absolutely deserve to have the best. Just imagine for a moment what a world would look like if everyone believed in themselves. I believe it would look like little girls and little boys ending the cycle of poverty for their family. I think it would also look like people not going to work at jobs that no longer bring them joy, but taking the time to get quiet and focus and really ponder the possibilities of reality. So you might be wondering, Jessica, what isn't working when it comes to self-belief? Well, I believe there are really three things that hinder self-belief. Now, the first one of those is stress and trauma. Now, stress and trauma are inevitable, but I think the challenge is because we're not expecting it, it can truly change the trajectory of our life and our identity. Time. See, we all have this expiration on when we have to accomplish our goals, and when that timer goes out and it is different than what we expected, it can leave us feeling discouraged and in disbelief. And last but not least is social and economical factors. See, if we can be honest, our family, our friends, our coworkers, our peers, they have a massive impact on what we believe to be true about ourselves. And we also don't get to pick the families that we are born into. And when I think about how many things that we can change and that we can't, and that's our environment. See, we don't get to pick what family we're born into. We don't get to pick what nation we are born into, but we do get to choose our communities that we put ourselves into. And so I think if we embark on this journey of self-belief, anything is possible. So let's talk about what isn't working when it comes to belief, but more importantly, how can we fix it? I believe that our belief has to be tested. You know, when I think about some of the stress and trauma that we experience in life, that is life's ultimate test. And for me, that test came out of trauma. And honestly, it came out of pain. I'll never forget when I was in middle school and I was walking down the hallway and I heard some boys behind me yelling out animal noises. And when I turned back to look at them and asked what was so funny, they told me that because I had hair on my arms, I looked like an animal. I remember in that moment, I was devastated. But I need you to do me a favor. Look down at your arms, right? Nod your head if you have hair on your arms. Most of us, right? But see, at 11 years old, I didn't have the emotional intelligence to be able to understand that we are more similar than different. I was getting bullied day after day, month after month, and year after year. And I knew at that point that something had to change and change quickly. See, when I think about my childhood, my mom, every time we were in the car, she was either playing smooth jazz or we were listening to all of the motivational speakers. And honestly, I really wasn't paying attention, but she knew it was doing something and it would stick one day. They would say things like believe in yourself, and they would encourage you, and they talk about having high self-esteem and confidence. And who knew? A couple of days later, I walked into that school with confidence, went right up to that bully and said, "We all have hair on our arms." And I remember feeling free. And from that point on, nobody's opinions of me even mattered. But I have a deeper question for you. Why is it that we're always focused on the negativity? It's like one person will say something negative about us and it will totally change our mindset when everything else is staying positive. And once I did a little bit of research, I found out from the National Science Foundation that 80% of the thoughts that we have are negative and 95% of those are repetitive. So what does that mean for you? That means we have to be intentional about our thought process, and we have to have the right people in our lives to influence us. But let's add another layer to it. At the same time that I was getting bullied based on my appearance, I was competing in beauty pageants all across the country and modeling. At some point, I had to ask myself, who was telling the truth? And after I had that deep, reflective moment, I asked myself a question. And when you're facing negativity and challenges and people saying bad things about you, I want you to ask yourself this question as well. One, is what they're saying true? And two, and most importantly, does it even matter? And when I realized that people's opinions of me no longer mattered, and I was unwilling to let that affect my mental health, my well-being, and self-care, I was really able to embrace a positive self-belief. We're also not holding on to belief long enough. When people say, "You can do it," that makes it seem like belief is simple, right? Like anybody can do it. But what I realize is belief takes intentionality. Belief takes discipline. Belief takes sacrifice. And when I think about a time that I had to put everything into something, I had competed with over 1,200 people to be the face of a TV network. And I consider myself to be a very ambitious person. So after I accomplished that goal, I was already ready to accomplish the next one. And I remember I heard about this contest to be voted best TV host in Detroit. All of the anchors, all the reporters were all gonna be voted on. And I remember going to my manager with excitement in my eyes, telling him, "I'm gonna win this contest." And he looked me right in the eyes and said, "You really do think you can do anything? You just got on TV, nobody knows you, you're not gonna win." I remember going back to my office so disappointed. I always allowed myself to be disappointed for about 2 minutes. After that, I gotta encourage myself. And I remember being in my office making that decision. Was I going to listen to his limiting beliefs that people tried to say they're trying to protect us? Or was I going to follow my heart? And that's exactly what I decided to do. But I knew with the limited support that I had, I was gonna have to tap into what I call layered belief. It first started by me saying positive affirmations to myself. Every morning I would wake up and say, "I'm going to win this award. And when I win, I'm gonna wear a dress, and I'm gonna look fabulous, and I'm gonna get that promotion, and I'm gonna do it." And I was like, man, let's add another layer. I started getting these white 3x5 index cards and started writing it out every day. But I thought, what else can I do? So then I took it a step further, started closing my eyes every morning and imagining myself winning this award. See, I realized when I look at the top 1% of athletes, some of the most successful people in history, they had one thing in common. It's obsession. Now, obsession is a word that a lot of people don't like, but healthy obsession produces results. And it's really the separator. So because I did all of that work and I was so focused, I was able to hold on to belief in the midst of opposition. And because I was able to do that, not only did I win that contest and wear that dress, I got the promotion and they featured me in a magazine as well. Now, that's what's possible when we believe. So I want to encourage you, as you're dealing with different oppositions in your life, you can choose to hold on to that belief when other people don't quite understand your intensity. And last but not least, we are doing this thing alone when we really need to tap into community and something I like to call borrowed belief. When I think about the foundation of how nations were built all over the globe, it was built on togetherness. Now, there has been this narrative of people wanting to be self-made, but I truly believe in the concept of it takes a village to not only raise a child, but to raise a generation. And so once we tap into that borrowed belief, all the times where stress is a factor, time is starting to wear out a little bit, you need to link up with community. Now, the interesting thing about community is you don't realize you need it until you need it. And that's why you have to put yourselves in the right community. Now, when I was pregnant with my daughter, I was told at 23 weeks, instead of 40 weeks, that I was gonna have to deliver her immediately. Now, I convinced them to give me another week, but she was still born at 1 pound and could literally fit in my hand. Now, she was in the hospital for 9 long months. And there were times where I was exhausted. There were times where I was starting to lose my belief, and I was so grateful to be a part of a community that allowed me to borrow beliefs when exhaustion was kicking in. See, I decided to tap into collective belief. And because I did that, my daughter is here in the audience today. She is an active, busy toddler who just happens to have a trach and a feeding tube. And because we decided to tap into this collective belief, she is living a full, healthy life. Now, if that can happen for me, just imagine what that level of belief can do for you. I believe with this level of intensity, we can change our world forever. It's time for you to believe at a higher level. You got this.